What happened to the airless basketball? It feels like just yesterday, the entire internet was buzzing about the airless basketball. SportsCenter was covering it, YouTubers were reviewing it, TikTok had millions of views, and everyone was calling it the future of the game. And then it disappeared. So what even happened to the airless basketball? Why did it seem like it was about to change basketball forever and then never showed up again? Well, to understand that, we've got to zoom out. When James Naismith invented basketball in 1891, players were literally using a soccer ball. There wasn't even a dedicated basketball until a couple of years later, when Spalding developed one specifically for the new sport. For over a century, the basketball has pretty much stayed the same. Leather or synthetic cover, rubber bladder inside, air pumped through a valve. Sure, brands have tweaked textures, materials, and grip patterns, but the core design hasn't changed much. The biggest revolution before Wilson's airless ball was probably when the NBA switched from leather to composite synthetic balls in 2006. And that lasted all of one season before players revolted and demanded the old leather ball back. So the fact that Wilson even tried something as radical as an airless basketball was huge. They weren't just trying to improve grip or bounce. They were trying to rewrite the rules of what a basketball even is. Wilson unveiled their prototype in February 2023 during NBA All-Star Weekend. Officially called the Wilson Airless Gen1, the goal was to make a basketball that literally never needed air. The idea sounds simple, but the execution was insane. Instead of an inflatable rubber bladder, the ball was 3D printed using a lattice design. Basically, the entire ball was made of hundreds of tiny hexagonal holes that allowed it to compress and expand, mimicking the way an air-filled ball works. It was printed using a high-performance polymer resin, cured under UV light, and then polished down to give it a consistent feel. The result: a ball that had the same weight and size as an NBA basketball, but no valve, no pump, no flat spots. Wilson said it was engineered to bounce, just like the official NBA ball. And to their credit, in demonstrations it kind of did. The big debut came during the Slam Dunk Contest in 2023, when Houston Rockets forward KJ Martin used it for one of his dunks. It wasn't the star of the night, but it was enough for fans at home to notice. Wait, what is that thing? And honestly, that was the perfect stage for it. The dunk contest is usually full of gimmicks: Superman capes, cars, props, you name it. But this time, the prop was the ball itself. A futuristic basketball that looked like it had been ripped straight out of a sci-fi movie. From there, the clips went viral. Tech blogs, sports sites, even mainstream outlets like CNN were running headlines about this basketball of the future. People weren't just talking about the dunk anymore. They were pausing the clips, rewinding, zooming in on screenshots of the ball itself. The reaction online was massive. People were calling it the end of flat balls forever.
What we call the one. Basically, this is like, let's make one and let people enjoy it.
Memes compared it to alien technology. YouTubers rushed to get their hands on one. For a moment, it felt like this could actually replace the traditional basketball. If Wilson was bold enough to make this, maybe the NBA would eventually adopt it. After all, Wilson had just replaced Spalding as the official NBA ball supplier in 2021. So the connection was there. And that's what fueled the hype even more. It wasn't just a random prototype from some unknown startup. This was Wilson, the official NBA partner, showing off a new invention right on basketball's biggest stage. If anyone had the power to change the game, it was them. For a few weeks, It felt like the future of basketball had arrived. But then reality hit. Here's the thing. As cool as the airless ball looked in highlight clips, once players actually got their hands on it, the flaws started piling up. The first big issue was the feel. Basketball players are incredibly sensitive to the grip and texture of the ball, and this one just felt off.
First of all, it feels way different. It's hard to describe this texture.
The surface was slick, almost too smooth in some places, and that made dribbling and shooting feel unnatural. Guys who had tried it described it as slippery and inconsistent, like you couldn't fully trust the ball in your hands. Then there was the sound. This one surprised a lot of people, but when you dribbled it, it didn't have that satisfying thud you're used to. Instead, it gave off this weird hollow clunk, like bouncing a plastic toy ball.
They bounce almost exactly the same way. Just your other senses are all screwed up.
And that might sound nitpicky, but rhythm and muscle memory are huge in basketball. When the sound and feel are off, it messes with your timing. Durability was another question mark. Because it was 3D printed with all those tiny holes, people wondered, what happens if you actually play with it outdoors? Does it crack on concrete? Does it wear down faster than leather? And of course, the biggest problem, cost. These things were insanely expensive to make. Each one took hours to 3D print and cost thousands of dollars. That's fine for a prototype you roll out at All-Star Weekend, but it's not realistic for gyms, schools, or kids just trying to hoop at the park. And the NBA. They never seriously considered using it. Their rulebook is strict about the official game ball, and this prototype was never close to meeting those requirements. So, yeah, it looked futuristic, but it wasn't actually playable. Not at the pro level, not at the rec level, not anywhere. And that's the sad part, because if Wilson had pulled this off, it really could have been a game changer. Think about it. How many times have you gone to the gym, grabbed a ball, and it's completely flat? Or you're outside at the park and the ball's warped or deflated. With the airless ball, that problem would be gone forever. No pumps, no leaks, no excuses. It also could have been huge for global basketball. In parts of the world where equipment isn't as accessible, you see kids playing with half-flat balls, or even makeshift ones. A ball that never loses air could have made the sport way more playable in those situations. Long term, it might have even been cheaper. Buy one ball, never replace it. That's a dream for schools or rec centers that constantly have to replace worn out equipment. So yeah, the potential was there. That's why people got so hyped. But the reality just didn't match up. So where's the airless ball today? Well, Wilson hasn't killed the idea completely. They still show off the Airless Gen1 at trade shows and special events, and sometimes you'll see it pop up in promo videos. But it's not for sale, and it's not anywhere near mass production. And here's the funny part. Regular people are now making their own. The original Wilson version costs thousands of dollars to produce, but hobbyists with 3D printers have started creating their own versions at home. You'll even find them on eBay or Etsy for like 50 to 100 bucks. They're not NBA quality, obviously, but they look close enough to the real thing that people buy them as collectibles or conversation pieces. That kind of says it all, doesn't it? Wilson dropped this futuristic idea with all the hype in the world. And now, random guys with 3D printers are the only ones actually selling them. It was a great idea, a cool prototype, and a fun viral moment. But that's all it was. Too expensive, too impractical, and not ready for real play. Wilson may revisit it in the future, but for now, the classic leather ball isn't going anywhere. The airless basketball didn't change the sport, but it did remind us how rare true innovation in basketball really is. Because sometimes, even the flashiest tech can't replace the sound of a regular old orange ball bouncing on hardwood.